You're on the Off the Ball League of Ireland podcast, and we are very happy to welcome the League of Ireland's newest football club owner to not our studio but his offices here in Dublin in O'Driscoll O'Neill Insurance. Niall O'Driscoll, how are you?
Not too bad. Well, welcome to Herbert Place.
Yes, thank you very much. Up the road from our old buildings, we've since moved to Stephen's Green. Simple question number one, why are you the new owner of Bray Wanderers? Give us the story.
Well, I suppose there's a couple of different stories. The simple answer is obviously my involvement in schoolboy football, and I suppose the disconnect between schoolboy football and obviously National League football is probably a personal reason for me why I got involved, or certainly considered even looking at it, at least, you know, from the Joe's perspective, the Academy's perspective, and this just, I suppose, completes, I said, the cycle for the pathway and allows the opportunities of everything to exist.
So explain to us how this has happened, because there was a lot of negative stuff in recent weeks and months about Bray and money and, you know, lack of wages, and all of a sudden you have become the owner, the issues are being sorted, the wages are being paid, and things for Bray hopefully now are looking in a more bright place. Yeah,
well, it started off as a simple conversation with the previous owner, our majority shareholder, Jerry Mulvey. In conversation, I made a suggestion, well, you know, things were what they were in Bray, and I said, here, if you want to talk to me about it or get involved, I'd consider it. And it progressed from there. And literally in a matter of 4 days, we completed all the due diligence, we did all the work we had to do. And it was probably the main decision where I got involved was my wife's background. They're all involved in Bray with the McAvoys, and over the years, I just spent all my time after coaching kids' games, going out there for my lunch and all the football. So Sandra probably had a lot more to do with it than I realised. You know, it was sort of, and then my brother Timmy was involved had been involved in Rovers, played for Dublin, whatever. And his view in life is, hey, if you want to have a go at this, let's go do it. So the two of us sort of said, here, let's go do this. See, can we, you know, save a club that's in trouble? Can we build a community that's fragmented, obviously, with what's gone on? And can we provide a pathway for kids and go have a bit of fun doing this? Like, I'm 57, life's too short. You know, I've been lucky out of football, and I might as well put something back into it. You know, because, you know, a shroud has no pockets. So let's go have a go at this. So how much of Bray Wanderers do yourself and your brother Timmy now own? Yeah, I suppose just to clarify it, O'Driscoll O'Neill Group, which is the company we use for the ventures of this nature, and we've done a few of these, obviously in the horse racing space and other spaces. We own 51% with the majority shareholder of Bray Wanderers FC Limited, whatever it is. So, and the board is comprised at the moment of myself and Timmy. Okay, who owns the other 49%? Well, it's divided, I think, between the other shareholders. There's a small group of minority shareholders, and then there was the old Millway Dawn that Jerry and whoever he is involved in it owns a small majority as well. So, you know, that's the 100% makeup, effectively. So up until last week, we've heard a lot about Jerry Mulvey, and, you know, spoke to Graham Kelly last week, spoke to the previous manager Martin Russell before that, and Paul O'Connor, who was a player at the time when the wages weren't coming, and they all said very good things about Jerry, that he was doing his best and he was made promises that weren't kept and stuff. How much involvement, if any, would he still have in the club, you know, given up to last week he was the chairman and now you are? Well, he'll have no involvement other than a minority shareholder and everything that attaches around that. All of the operations, all of the decisions and everything will be controlled by the board, obviously, which is myself and Tim. And in fairness, we're putting in management structures, you know, that's needed to run a football club, in terms of all the resources, in terms of getting the Carlisle grounds up to standard, you know, getting the fans engaged, getting all the supporters back. Everyone who was involved there before, let's get them back and see where it takes us all. Yeah, I want to ask you about Friday and the business cards and stuff as well. Just the final one on the previous regime as such. The O'Connor brothers were also heavily involved recently. What's their current role now in this, again, if there is any for them? Well, the current role, I think, for Dennis is he might be a minority shareholding in Millway, which is sort of with him and Jerry and whatever. I don't really know. I know he's not involved in the club in any form other than that. Martin is the current general manager, and we've agreed, as in from today, that Martin's is no longer involved with the club. We're, you know, obviously delighted and thank him for all the work that he's done. You know, it's a new start, requires changes, and I suppose as Martin said to me, he gives him his life back and off he goes. You know, so it must have been very difficult on anybody involved in that environment as well. So hey, we've drawn a line, we move on and see where it takes us.
Yeah, and I know, of course, you can't really speak about what happened previously because you weren't at the club, but you hope that the issues that have been in the, if we split the column into negative and positive, the negative headlines, hope it will be gone. And for you, the positivity started on Friday, result aside, lost 3-1 to Cork, but there just seems to be, even from some of the journalists at the match, you know, tweets that you introduce yourself to the press box, you handed out business cards and a little leaflet to all of the fans coming in. Under 14s will be in for free forever. You've an email address which is get involved at BrayWanderers.ie, looking for people to, as it says on the tin, get involved in Bray Wanderers. Just talk to me about Friday and you being on the ground there, meeting people, speaking to people and trying to sell your vision.
Well, I suppose I'm coming from the point of view that I'd expect to treat everybody as I'd want to be treated. So, you know, the first thing I felt I needed to do is, hey, a lot of people don't know who I am. So the letter was a little note, you know, welcome to Bray Wanderers. You know, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to try and do, and I want to get you involved. And handing out my business card and handing out the letters is really giving everyone a way to connect. And I think the response certainly is, I've been delighted with it. I think I've 72 emails of people already wanting to make the tea, wash their windows, get involved, which is fantastic. And, you know, it'll probably take me a week or two to get there with them because I'm trying to deal with the other issues. But absolutely, you know, even in the last 2 or 3 days, I've volunteer painters out there, I have people in the ground. It's, you know, so it'll get there and we'll see where it takes us. I suppose in relation to, you touched on the press, you know, common courtesy to me is to welcome people when they come into Bray Wanderers, whether they're press, whether they're supporters, whether they're players, and whatever. And it has to be a good experience for all, you know, including myself. Yeah. You know, I've had good fun with the press. You know, they've been very supportive, I must say. Credit where credit's due. And hey, this is a good news story. This has to be, you talked about negative and positive. This has to be positive. Everything we do has got to be positive. Will we make mistakes along the way? I'm sure we will. But it won't be from the want to trying to do it right.
And for you, you know, trying to make this a success as such, do you understand how big the task might be, you know, and some would say that you're mad to be going in given the issues and given the history, but others would say it's now a clean slate and you can have a chance to improve things, and if you improve things a small bit, it's obviously been a success. Yeah,
well, I think you use the word mad, you're probably right. I think the only good thing about it is I think we're very clear on what's in front of us. We certainly know the expectations, and certainly from, I suppose, the business perspective is I get League of Ireland football. I see the successes, I've seen the failures, I've seen the bankruptcies, I've seen the run out of money all over the years and whatever. I do believe it can certainly be sustainable if done rightly and managed properly, and all the stakeholders involved are involved in it. And I suppose football clubs are about fans. You know, yes, the players perform, and yes, they get paid to do the job, and they should enjoy it and be the best they can be. But it's ultimately about the fans. It's ultimately about the community. It's ultimately about, you know, how many people in Wicklow will feel proud that this is their League of Ireland club and want to bring their children there. And we'll build a generation of children who come along to these grounds that in 5 years' time or 10 years' time might be playing there or bringing their kids. And to me, this is the project, and we're committed to that long-term project. When I got involved in Joe's, you know, everyone says Joe's is you know, is a very successful underage club, as is the academy. I've been in Joe's 40 years, so it didn't happen in 1 year, you know. And the people in Joe's and the volunteerism and all of that has it where it is today. So, you know, as I think Lionel Messi says, I'm an overnight success after 17 years of practice. You know, so we're not that naive in what we're walking to, but we'll give it a go, and we'll commit to it.
Yeah, of course, and as mentioned by Niall there, the SJB Academy, the St Joseph's Boys Bray Wanderers Academy, with the 15s, 17s and 19s, the under-13 league is due to start and will start this coming March as well, and a lot of the underage teams in Bray, and also, of course, previously and still in St Joseph's Boys performing really, really well, and that's the basis to what you want to do is try and reduce the wage budget of paying. I read this week about, you know, paying a senior player £1,000 a week, maybe give a younger player a chance at being a footballer.
Well, I think it's just a different strategy. I'm not saying I'm against paying somebody £1,000 a week if they're good enough. Well, fair play to them. I think the model for us going forward is to create the opportunities for young kids. Obviously, it gives them opportunities, whether it's their careers in the UK, whether it's university scholarships, whether it's playing for Bray's first team, wherever it takes them. All we can do is really provide the platform for this to happen. It's funny you talk about the academies. Absolutely, the academies have been, I suppose, far more successful than we planned. In such a quick period. It's only gone hardly even 2 years. You know, we have a very good 15s, we have very good 17s, 19s. Was a little bit of rebuild this year because of circumstances in Bray the previous year, but they've stabilised well. the coaching people we have are as good as you get for, so it's really a matter of we'll put in the budgets, we'll set it off. It's interesting, since last Friday there's something like 20 requests from kids wanting to join. Now, that's all very well, but there's only 20 spaces in every one. But even that positive reaction, that I think some parents and some of their kids are seeing, that there's a genuine pathway here for kids, in an environment that is based on the needs of the teenagers, the developing adolescents and whatever. And I think that's something we'll offer, probably a lot better than a lot of our competitors. You know what I mean? Particularly when you've been involved in underage development for 40 years. Most National League clubs are only involved for 2. So I think that gives us a bit of a competitive edge. We get what's required, and hopefully that will be sort of a plus on why people want to be part of this journey.
In terms of the young people who aren't, young footballers in your club, but, people that live in Bray and the surrounding areas, it's a huge area if you were to throw, your eyes over a map and the amount of schools and the amount of houses in the area, and you've said that anyone under 14 will never pay to watch a Bray Wanderers match. Just tell me about that and trying to get more young people into the ground. I noticed on Sunday I was up in Dundalk watching Dundalk and Bohs, and the amount of young kids in Dundalk jerseys is so cool to see.
Yeah, and I have a view on that, as I believe if football in Ireland is to be built properly, you've got to have a product where kids come to. They find their stars here. We all did it when we grew up, and who we want to be and all this sort of stuff. And I think it's so important. That's why I have a very strong view on not charging for any kid into Bray under 14. As long as I'm there, that's where I'm coming from. It was great last week. I think there were 250 plus kids there last week getting face painted in Bray colours, and there's a fabulous photo going around, I think Twitter, where 2 kids are on the fence looking in, and I responded to the father saying, well, a bit of luck in 5 years' time they'll be on the other side of the fence, and stuff like that is fantastic. There was a kid at half time, found out by accident he was 6 years of age. It was his birthday. It was his first game ever with his granddad and his dad, so we took him on, we got him a rocky little photograph. Hey, will he love Bray Wanderers? I hope so. And I think that's the start of all of this.
In terms of the first team and the first game that you were, in charge of as the club chairman and the majority shareholder, was Friday, a 3-0 loss to Cork, and 3-0 down after 32 minutes. You were thinking, oh God, after the 6-0 against Bohs the previous week, but Gary McCabe scores a brilliant free kick, and Bray did have chances maybe to get something from that game. 9 points behind Limerick now with 9 games left to play. Spoke to Graham Kelly last week before the game, and he was saying, listen, we're still hoping to stay up. Do you have a plan A to stay up and a plan B if you go down, that there's a plan for that? Because obviously if things don't go well in the next few games and relegation does happen, the plan might have to change a little.
Well, I think there's 2 sides to what you're talking about there. First of all, in relation to the players that are there at the moment, I've met the players twice. I met them, obviously, they were first to hear before anybody else. I met them on, I think, Thursday, the first session, introduced myself and sort of set out the expectation, which is, let's go do the job. Your job's to play football here, do the best you can. I had a quick word with them before the game on Friday, and my expectation for the players and the management team is, when you cross the white line to go onto that pitch, you give the best you can give. That's my expectation at the moment. I'm a realist. I've been around football a long time. You don't always get what you deserve in football, and Bray probably have been a little bit unfortunate insofar as where they've done well earlier on in the season, they didn't quite get what they want, and obviously the circumstances of the club wouldn't have helped the motivation, the enthusiasm for players. I get all that. So my expectation at the moment for every player and management and coach involved, not just the academy but the first team, that when we cross that white line, we give our best. Now, if that's good enough to keep us up, happy days. If that's good enough and we're in the first division planning, happy days. The difference between both divisions is obviously the budgeting, the resources, and whatever, and whatever we end up being, we will budget accordingly to make the objectives happen. And but it has to be you give it your best shot. And I think what I want Bray to be about is that it is about enthusiasm, it is about energy, it is about wanting to be there, it is about doing the best you can. And I look at players going back years ago that have come out sort of from the areas, like your Paul McShane's, and like Paul said, his critics football wise, but nobody can ever take away the enthusiasm. I remember as a schoolboy in Jones at 13, the enthusiasm, the work rate, the energy, the application, and hey, that's what builds character and hopefully builds football clubs.
You met the players, as you mentioned, on Thursday and Friday, and the players are clearly aware that their wages that were outstanding were paid by you or by the company that owns Bray, and the wages for the month just finished, July, have also been paid. So that has to be, a boost for them at the very beginning, before they even hear you speak, that they know you've come in, you've taken ownership, you've paid them what they're owed, and you've spoken to them, which now has to lead to happier players, happier staff, happier employees generally. And I know I understand maybe some staff may still be owed some money. Is the plan to try and sort that out too, or has that all been sorted?
No, sorry. First of all, I think it's important that you understand the responsibilities when you own a business or own a company. You know, the basic right is the people who work get paid. You know, and I would have very strong views on that. So the first job, obviously, all the players are paid. Every player is paid. And there were a couple of players injured. Everything has been sorted because there was issues apparently, I think, over that. I met those 3 players the other night. That's sorted. I'm sitting here unaware of anybody owed money, to be honest with you. Everyone is paid. I'm talking about players now and stuff like that. Obviously, there's other creditors around, whatever. We're going through the process of that. That'll be tidied up. I'll probably have everything cleared and everything out of the way before the season finishes. It'll be a clean bill of health now if we go for next season. But hey, companies at minimum must honour their debts. You know, that's my view. There's obviously legacy issues there with other people and what they say and whatever. My view on this sort of stuff is, you know, we did our due diligence. We know what is there. You know, there's a lot of, in situations like this where people say, oh, I'm owed this or I did this and whatever. You know, whether it's substantiated or not is a whole different ballgame. But that, to be honest, is not for me. The arrangement we've done was from last Thursday, from 2 o'clock on. We're responsible for everything from that time on. Before then, you know, I don't know was the answer for a lot of the, but certainly anybody who's owed money or revenue, your tax, all that. Hey, you do that. So it's like running your house at home. We all have bills. We got to pay them.
Yeah, fantastic stuff that those 3 players who did pay for their own operations have been sorted out as well. And example, you know, for example, the previous manager Martin Russell, physios, coaches under his tenure there, have they been sorted what they're owed as well?
Yeah, I understand. Sorry, basically I have a list. Everything's done. You know, so I don't have the detail in it. Obviously I have a team that looks after all of that. You know, we're used to dispatching off stuff here, you know, 20,000 transactions a week. So, you know, these are just another transactions. They're in the system and we get it cleared.
The man who's now currently in charge of the football is Mr. Graham Kelly. Tell us about his role. You know him a long time from not just his role in Bray, but previously in St Joseph's Boys. He's managed some fantastic underage teams there. He's come in as the caretaker manager for a second 60-day stint. I know he's going to apply for the pro licence next week. He's a Joey's man through and through. He's now a Bray man through and through. And he's been there when the club have needed him in recent times, and he's there again now.
Oh yeah, well, I know Graham a long time, and credit where credit's due, you know. But it's like everything in the club, you know. At the moment, I'm sitting back, I'm looking at everything, seeing what the club needs, seeing what changes need to be made, and you know, we'll make them, as I said very clearly. Whatever decisions I believe will be made in the best interest of Bray Wanderers, will be made in the best interest of Bray Wanderers. But I'm looking, I'm not running around. There's some very good people there in Bray and they do a good job, you know, and like, yeah, poor old Graham seems to be jumping in and out of what happens. But the only good thing is whatever changes I make, if I do, and to be quite honest, this is real early days. I'm only in it a week. I know somebody says I don't really know how to run a football club, but I know how to make decisions when they need to be made. And it's about having the best people who are committed and loyal and all of that in clubs, and they're really important. And Graham is no different than anybody else. But if I make those decisions, the people who I will tell first will be the people who are in situ, nobody else. You know, out of absolute respect to all the commitments people do. But to answer your question, I don't know the answers. You know, don't know them at this stage. You know, but I'll do whatever I have to do and what's best. You know.
Speaking of being in situ, the Carlisle Grounds has been in situ for years and years and years. I was out there a couple of weeks ago doing the charity cycle with Graham and a number of the players, and that has been part of this story in terms of, is it going to be sold, is it going to be rezoned, will they build apartments on it and build a new stadium elsewhere, and will the people who were running Bray make money off that? What's your understanding of the ground and the plans for that?
Well, my understanding at the moment is Bray Wanderers Football Club are resident in the Carlisle Grounds, and that's where they are. In relation to the future, in relation to the plans, I haven't a clue. Don't know what's involved. You know, when you talk about planning all this, you need to talk to planners. I haven't a clue. Obviously, I'll sit down with Wicklow and see what, you know, it's one of the oldest grounds, sporting grounds in this country. I was reading up about it there the other day. So there's a fabulous heritage, you know. But then we live in 2018 and the world is changing. So I don't know the answer to your question. You know, if somebody comes along and builds us new ground and offers all of this and it's the right thing for Bray Wanderers, well, happy days. If somebody comes up and redevelops the Carlisle and keeps that, well, happy days and all that. I think the first focus on Bray Wanderers is to build a club that people are proud of and want to come. You know, yes, you know, I spent this morning and yesterday out with, you know, a crew of people, you know, painting, cleaning up, that at least it's visually good and we'll make the best of what we have there at the moment. You know, it's a bit like the football. We'll do the best we can at the moment, and we'll see where it takes us. But sorry, in terms of my plans, I don't have any. My job is to build a football club. I think they, whilst they're important, and certainly important to the community of Wicklow, you know, and there's so much development. You look at what's going on in Cherrywood, you look at the Dart Lines, you look at all this. There's so much going on everywhere at the moment, and you see the demand for houses, the demand for this, because it's getting to the stage where, you know, nobody can afford a house in this country anymore. So these are all big social issues and whatever. But hey, we're focusing on a football club at the moment. That's where we'll go on this one.
And if you are going to have a successful football club, you'll want, whether that's a new stadium or the current place, for people to come, for women to come, for kids, for men clearly as well, to be able to come, sit in a nice seat, have acceptable toilets, be able to grab a bit of food, maybe grab a beer or a glass of wine or whatever. And even simple things you just said, like, you know, making the Carlock grounds look nicer for you is important now. And you can do, I even was at Shell's last week and they've painted the toilets, they've new hand dryers, simple things that make the place a nicer place for people to be, and that's stuff that's already started to happen.
Well, the first thing that probably horrified me last week was the state of the ladies' toilets, and I kept saying to myself, geez, would I bring my wife down here, kids down? The answer is no. They will already be, by the next home game, brand new toilets in, everything painted, floors done, hand dryers, exactly as you said, same with the gents and whatever. It has to be a place, like people forget, like football is an entertainment business. It's about attracting people to come down for 3 hours and have an experience. If the football's an experience, if the cup of coffee or beer with your friends is an experience, if sitting in a nice seat, the kids running around, it has to be an experience. And that's really what we'll try and create as quick as possible. And we'll do the quick fixes as quick as we can. I suppose we have 3 months left of the playing season, and then we're into a window sort of 5 months. So you know, that 5 month window will probably be where most of the stuff will happen. Where in the next 3 months it'll be about the absolute essentials to make it comfortable for anybody coming into the ground.
Now, the last 2 questions. Your role is going to be very busy, given the fact that we're sitting, as we said, in your insurance company, O'Driscoll O'Neill, which is you've had for years and years and years, and it does a lot of the contracts and the insurance for the FAI and League of Ireland clubs. You've now got a League of Ireland football club to run yourself. How are you going to, you know, be able to balance and manage your own time? And you've also clearly got a big involvement in Joey's as well. So you're going to be quite busy, sir.
I think everyone probably thinks I do all this work, you know, but no, I'd love to pretend that I do all this work, but in fairness, it's like everything is about the structure. It's like the insurance business here. I have 60 people, I have management teams, they run it, and you know, I'd like to think it's led well. I'd like to think the standards we set, you know, customer service and whatever, and that's why we do well in the insurance business. I think it's no different than in Joe's. My involvement in Joe's is, everyone might think I'm you know, doing all the work out there. I'm not. There's a fabulous board of directors in Joe's. There's 120 volunteers. All of this. So to me, it's about putting in the structures that people engage in, whatever. And Bray will be no different. You know, yes. Will I brush out a dressing room? Will I cut a pitch? Will I paint a wall? Absolutely. If that has to be done, I'll do that. I'm not afraid to do that. But at the end of the day, it's about putting in foundations. It's about putting in structures, and it's about engaging with everyone who wants to be there. The last thing I want for anybody is to be sitting in Bray Wanderers and they don't want to be there. You know, they've got to want to live the passion and direction that everybody else and the supporters and the stakeholders and everyone in the county can relate to and want to be part of.
No, finally, speaking of wanting to be there, just want to give you the chance to, you know, finish with a closing message for anybody listening who or watching who, you know, wasn't at the game Friday, who didn't get your business card that says we want you, and that email address again is getinvolved@braywanderers.ie. And just, you know, if you have something as a final thing to say to people about your plan for Bray and people who want to help or get involved or support, what do you want to say?
Well, I think the message is still the same at the moment. You know, get involved. You know, I'd encourage everyone to connect social media with us. I think, you know, be the friends on Facebook, go link on Twitter and whatever. Because what I hope to do over the next couple of weeks is to start coming out with all of the number of changes and initiatives and whatever. One of the initiatives that we're going to launch now hasn't gone up on social media, so you'll probably get the first hit in this one, is we're running free soccer camps for every kid in Bray. I think the weekend after the Pope, which think about the 24th, 25th, Monday and Tuesday, register up, bring your kid along, and we will give free, you know, coaching camps with the players, with high quality coaches and everything. And we're going to follow that up then with a launch. Obviously the Rovers games the following week. You know, we're going to launch the Junior Supporters Club. We're going to parade all the kids with the flags at the half time, and this is the next big initiative. So we're going to run free soccer camps, because I know at the moment, you know, parents are probably a bit skint at the moment, the end of the summer coming into school. You know, it'll be a great way for a couple of hours for 2 days, you know, with top quality coaches. You know, we'll get them all branded up, bit of face paint, and have a bit of fun for 2 days, and we'll form, you know, the first, as I call it, you know, Kids Supporters Club, led by an ambassador who will be announced then, that all the kids relate to, and we go have a bit of fun.
Fantastic. The ambassador's not the Pope, is he? In fact, he's here. He might come along. He might want his face painted and join the camp.
Well, I'm doing a bit of work that weekend and all the event stuff. So you know, God knows what Francis will be doing the fun Monday, Tuesday after. But we'll see what happens. But no, it's initiatives like that. But the big thing is connect with us. We'll get the messages out the best we can. There is a lot to do, and resources are limited at the moment. But as we get the structures in, we'll be able to sort of get everyone engaged. And like one of the things is the amount of supporter groups that were there before. Obviously, it was fragmented and whatever. They've been hugely responsive, want to get involved and stuff like that. You know, and it's not just about, you know, male supporter groups. You know, we might have the first all-female supporter group in the country. You know, why not? If that's what works for Bray Wanderers, let's do it.
Fantastic stuff. I really enjoyed our chat. We could chat for hours, but you've got to go to work, so do I. Niall O'Driscoll, thank you so much. And very sincerely, the very best of luck with your plans, because they sound brilliant, so the very best of luck.
Okay, well, thanks very much. And by the way, appreciate your efforts. You know, any good news is worth writing about. Keep the faith.
Hey, hope you enjoyed that latest offering from Off the Ball. If you want to subscribe, and you should, check out just up here. All our latest stuff is just down here. Generally, knock yourself out.